Hi everyone. I'm Angela with SEO Rocket, and we are starting here in just a minute. We've got about a minute before 11 o'clock hits, so I know some of you are logging on and getting settled in to join us today. We're certainly happy and excited to have you with us. I just want to go over those housekeeping bits. First of all, welcome to Crafting Your Website Framework here with Cathy Hofknecht of New Concepts, and I will be with you today. Everyone has joined in what they call listen only mode, which some of you may be very familiar with that if you've joined us before. That, of course, means that you are muted. You can hear us, but we can't hear you. However, we really want to get your questions and your communication in, so we would certainly I love to hear that. I totally invite every single one of you to ask any questions you may have. There's a little question box in your control panel, so please feel free anytime today during our hour together to type in your question, and we'll be happy to answer it at the end of the program. At the end of the presentation, Cathy and I will be here to answer those questions, so certainly get those in for us. This is your opportunity to do so, to ask the expert. So please do that, and then of course stick around until the end to hear the answer to your question, right? So we will be here to answer those. It looks like we're almost at 11 and people are starting to log in, so I'll get started with everyone. Let me get started here. So as you can see from her beautiful smiling face, Cathy is with us here today for Crafting Your Website Framework. Cathy is with New Concepts, and she's joining the SEO Rocket team today to talk to you. We certainly appreciate her being here. Wanted to talk to you a little bit. So your marketing, your website really does serve multiple purposes, both for marketing and for sales, right? It can educate, entertain, inform. It can, generate leads, which is what we want it to do. It can generate sales for your products and services, which we tend to always want it to do. It can even save you time through FAQs and calendaring and contact forms and all kinds of things of that nature. It serves multiple purposes, right? And your marketing goals grow from that because there's always an end result that you're working towards, and we know this for both marketing and sales. Now, our good friend Abraham Lincoln, remember him? We've been together for years with this guy, right? So he always says, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So your website is your axe, okay? It is a strength multiplier. I mean, you can be the most talented, strongest lumberjack or lumberjill in the world, but if you have a dull axe, you're in trouble, So your website is your axe. You can be the most talented service provider, you have the most expertise, you have the most incredible products in the world, but if your site isn't speaking to the world in that way and letting them know that, they may never know. It may just be word of mouth for you, which doesn't help you grow your business at all. We want a strong website that gives the best information possible out there and not only meets your goals, but meets your the viewers and the users that are coming to the site, meets their needs as well. So today we are going to sharpen the axe. Right, Cathy?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So Cathy is here to help you sharpen your axe and teach you and walk us through the process of what questions we need to ask ourselves and what we need to determine that we want from our site as we're putting it together, a site plan, whether it's for a refresh or a makeover, even a whole new site, or maybe you have an entirely new business or a sister business that is starting out that needs its own website, right? What are those foundational pieces that you need to put in place when you're making these plans? So Cathy with New Concepts, who is here today. And I have to say this, couple of things. Cathy Hofknecht, New Concepts, they're incredible. You can learn more information about them at newconcepts.net. She has over 30 years of experience, and she leads an incredibly talented, very strong web development team over there at New Concepts. And when this idea came up for us as a webinar topic, because it's an FAQ, it's a frequently asked question that we get to a lot about, how do I know what to add to my website, and what do I put there, and how do I design it, how do I plan it, where do I even start thinking? I instantly thought of Cathy and her team, because we've worked with them alongside them for years, and we refer business to each other, and they're a very strong team, and she'll be great at answering these questions. And also too, she has awesome insight, so please get those questions in once again, because we love having those questions. I'm going to go ahead, Cathy, if you're ready, and send you the screen so that make you the presenter, so that when you're ready, you can get started over there. And while Cathy's coming up, just to let you know, we're beginning to see your screen. While she's coming up, I have to tell y'all, she has dug into her inner rather warrior woman today, and is presenting to us with a bad back. So I very much appreciate her. We were debating whether this could work or not, but she has powered through, and she is with us here today to stand and deliver, literally.
No problem. Standing is good. So now, are you guys seeing the slideshow? I want to make sure you're not seeing the slide sorter view here.
Yeah, I can see your screen, and also I'm going to take my camera down so that's not distracting for people. But yeah, I can see it.
So you're seeing the slide presentation itself, and you need to remind me, Angela, how to I can minimize myself, because I don't need to see me either. Okay, great.
Yeah, you can minimize yourself, or just cut your camera off and your control panel.
Okay.
If you see that little dot.
I think I'm good. So good morning, everybody, and thank you, Angela, for inviting me to make this presentation today. It's obviously a topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts, as we work with clients all the time who ask for assistance in creating new websites, and they want to expand their presence, as you said. And today, I'm not going to talk about how to build a website or any of those elements. This is really going to be your homework assignment. So no matter who you go talk to build your site, you have done your homework, and you know what you want before you get there. It's no different than if you decide you're going to go have a new house built. You're not going to go to a builder and say, build me a house. Hopefully you're going to have an idea of what you want, whether it's, I want a 2-story home and I want a master bedroom on the first floor. You're going to have an idea in your head of exactly what you're looking for. And it's no different with your website. You need to really plan ahead so that you can build a site that your visitors are going to love. So before we even get into some of the questions to ask yourself, we need to begin with the end in mind. And this is all about your elevator pitch. I'm sure you've heard that term before. How would you describe your business to somebody if you had 5 minutes on the elevator and you were going up 10 floors? Doesn't give you a lot of time. So, it's very important to be able to answer some of the questions that I have in front of you here. So what is it that your company does? That is a first fundamental question you need to answer. Who do you do it for? Who's the audience? And why do they care? And if you can answer those 3 questions, you've got a great start to being able to articulate what your business is about. Now, the bonus question, what makes you different? Even better. If you can articulate what is different about your business, that's only going to help you further draw in your audience and make them see, hey, why do I want to work with you instead of somebody else? That's not always possible. Sometimes that's a little harder to do. So again, that's why I consider it a bonus question. So why do you want a new site? It's important to really define your objective. Angela talked about this earlier, and there's lots of different answers, and there may be more than one reason you want to add, create a new site. Maybe you want to add e-commerce capability. When COVID hit, a lot of people had to pivot with their business, so e-commerce was a big ask for a lot of people. Maybe you're going through a rebrand. You've updated your logo, you've updated your messaging, and your site just feels dated and doesn't reflect what you're doing today. Perhaps your site isn't as mobile friendly as you would like it to be, and clearly more and more people are viewing sites from their mobile phone. So making sure that someone has a great experience when they're visiting your site on a phone can be really important. Oops, I'm going. This does this to me every time. I have to be, give me a second, because there is an option here, I think, so that my slides don't auto advance, or I may just have to keep hitting the key. So, and another big reason you may want a new site is to get more leads. I mean, we're all looking to grow our businesses. Maybe you want to launch a new product. The possible answers are endless, and only you know what it is that you're looking for. So this is probably the first fundamental question before you even go into defining anything else. So it's really important when creating a new site that you're putting your audience first. We all very quickly fall into talking about our business in terms that make sense to us and how we think about the business, but we have to remember we're speaking to visitors. They might speak a different language than we do. They might not use the same words. So, and we might have multiple different audiences who are visiting our site. So it's great to make a list. You're not gonna be all things for every audience. We all have budgets and we all have, finite resources. So, again, your answers might include, I'm trying to attract people who want to purchase IT services. I'm looking to use my website, as a recruitment tool. So candidates who might be looking for jobs. I'm trying to gain investors. So that might be another reason, another audience for my site. So once you've identified each of these audiences, it's important to really make them into real people. It's really, in the abstract, it's easy to forget that these are specific people with specific needs. So we always recommend, once you've looked at your list of different types of visitors, that you prioritize them. So who is the most important audience? Who is and in what order? Because you can't have your site focus on everything simultaneous. There's a primary audience who is going to get the lion's share of attention, particularly on your home page. So when you're thinking about your visitors, it's really good to describe them in detail. If you can describe your demographic, maybe you're dealing with elderly people who are not as computer savvy. Maybe you're dealing with millennials. And I am really struggling with the fact that my slides keep jumping ahead of me. I apologize for that. And what is the primary reason they're visiting your site, and what type of information are they looking for? So you want to do this for each of your audiences. Once you've done the first one, you may discover that some of your other audiences are actually looking for the exact same information. So it really helps you narrow in on what sort of information you need to be providing. It's always a good idea to size up your competition, know what you're comparing against, know what people are seeing when they visit other sites, because your goal here is to make your site one that makes you stand out. And when you're looking at other people's sites, identify the good and the bad. You may discover that a lot of your competitors have kind of lackluster sites, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't set your sites high. and your goal can be to crush the competition and just wow your audience. In addition to looking at competitors, which can also help identify how other people are talking about the products and services you offer, it's also great to find inspiration in other places. And this again goes back to you're going to design a house. Well, your web designer can't read your mind. So if there are certain sites that you are drawn to that you find attractive, make notes about what you like. So for example, here, on this First Oak site, maybe it's a matter of you're really connecting that there's this very personal image, or it's a really simple navigation. A site may have a really great use of video, or the way they have organized their online store. Again, the answers are endless, but when you're identifying sites that you find interesting or that really inspire you, it's important to make notes so that, again, your web designer will know what it is you like about that particular site. And you don't have to find sites where you love everything about them, as long as you can articulate, hey, I really love the way this header looks, but I'm not so crazy about the fact that it's got a busy navigation. That's really going to help you a lot in the process of once you're ready to meet with your chosen web designer to build out a new site. So now that we've done those things, I mean, we haven't even really, so often people come to Angela and to ourselves and like, I want a site, and I want product pages, and I want this, and I want that. And they haven't even begun to answer those first questions we talked about. And now that we are looking at the actual site, this is where we really begin to dive in. And we need to think about content. Content is really what's going to drive everything. Once again, this content now should align with the types of visitors who are coming to your site. What are they looking for? What do they need? If you're trying to present your company as a great place to work, you may need a section of the site that really shows off your culture and has great pictures of your office space, or maybe it has maybe you don't have an office space at all, and maybe it's all about how your people telecommute. So we start off, and this is an important exercise we use when we are designing sites for folks. We always start, once we've answered those other questions, this exercise of kind of what are the key elements of the home page and the other content page helps us then create initial site designs for you. And you'll see how some of the elements that we talked about earlier really feed into this. Well, if I've already identified what I do, who I do it for, and why it matters, it's really going to help me have a working headline for the top of my page. And if I know what my visitors want to do, I can define key pathways. Maybe I want them to view a demo of the product. Maybe I want to be able to help them immediately choose the right product or set of services that they're interested in. Maybe I want to be presenting proof points to my so that my client can see who my other clients are or awards that I have received as a company. That's always important and helpful because it gives credibility to your site. So we always encourage our clients to think about those sorts of elements as well. And equally important throughout your entire site, not just the home page, is making sure you have adequate calls to action and relevant calls to action. If you're selling enterprise software, the next step is probably not buy now. It might be schedule a demo. It might be, in a different instance, it might be compare products. So you really need to think about these and what you want people to do next. The whole goal of the website is to bring your visitors along the journey through self-discovery so that they can begin to identify and see themselves, see how you meet their needs, and then make that next step. So when you speak to them on the phone, they already at least have an understanding of, yes, I know this company, has a product that makes sense for me. I mean, how many times have all of us now with software as a service, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, they have a one-page site and they want you to immediately sign up for, a free online trial. Well, maybe I don't want to take the time to download the software and sign up for a free trial and try to figure it out. Maybe I would much rather have a video presentation that walks me through some of the key points of how the software works. And I don't have the time to download it. So again, these are all very important considerations. And beyond the home page, we always like to break content into different types of content, just because, it helps with the organizational structure. So perhaps you are dealing with, you have products. So you're going to have a bunch of pages that are about products. You want to show your staff. So, you make the decision, I want to show my entire team, or maybe I only want to show the management team. You know that you're going to be posting news articles regularly or resource articles. You want a blog. You want to display case studies. So again, we like to segment these out because each of them also might have a different layout, and we can help. That's going to help drive from a design perspective, so we can make similar layouts for similar sorts of content throughout a site. One of the things that is incredibly important with building a new site is that it is not a one-time exercise that I build my site and I'm done and I walk away and now I don't need to do anything for the next 4 years until I'm ready to do a new site. It's extremely important, if you want to bring people back to your site, that you're constantly adding new content. And it's also important, and this comes back to your business and what your business is all about, that you plan and you think about future growth and you communicate that with your web design firm. So we have a client who does in the mental health care space, and they know that over the course of the next couple of years, they're going to be adding more offices. So by communicating that to me, we could plan accordingly and make it really easy for them to add that content as new content became available. So that's the other piece of it. We always try to build sites where the content that's going to need to be updated regularly is something that the client can do on their own if they like. If they want us to do it, that's fabulous, but we don't want them to feel like, gee, I can't do anything by myself. So again, some of the answers that you might have is that you're constantly expanding new products because you're an online store, so you're always going to have new products coming. You plan to expand and continue to do more case studies or resource articles, or that staff's going to change over time and you're going to want to be able to update people's bios. So these are, again, some of the different types of content that you might be planning on updating on a regular basis. And the example here on the right is one that we did for Morrison and Forrester. They're a law firm, and it was a microsite we did for them, talking about their initiative to help startup businesses, in terms of formation, funding, expansion, going through IP. So we built this whole site around the idea that it was going to be a living, breathing thing, and organized the content so that people could easily experience different topics or find different topics without simply looking chronologically at whatever the most recent articles were. So that's another important element. As content grows, you want to make sure that it's still easy for people to access and they can get to relevant content. There's search functionality, or there's logical ways of categorizing information. With all of this in hand, now we get to the piece that, again, people often jump to first, organizing that content. Or I shouldn't say they don't jump to first. They tell us all the content they want, but now we want to organize that content. And this really falls into the category of really defining our navigation, making sure we're focusing on the important items. You don't want to have 10 items in your primary navigation, because people will not traverse that much of your navigation. And you also want to make sure when you're choosing names for your navigation, that it's a name that's going to make sense to your visitor, not to you. Just because you call something a treatment option, your visitor may think of it as a service. So, these are really important considerations. And this is where we go back to, as we're doing this exercise, we can go back to the information we had defined earlier. Who is our visitor? What are they looking for? What are the types of words they use? This is also important. I'm not a topic that I'm not going to speak to here, but is near and dear to Angela's heart, is organizing your content and understanding the words that people look for is really key to building an SEO strategy and a content strategy for your site. With navigation, your primary navigation isn't the only piece you have to work with. Oftentimes people will use secondary navigation, that space right above your navigation. Maybe it's a different color bar. That's a great place. If you want people to call you as a next step, having that ability to find your phone number instantly is really important. If you have, it's also a great place for if you have secondary audiences. So again, back to, I mentioned this healthcare provider we have that we work with. Their primary audiences are people looking for mental health care providers, but a secondary audience is physicians who are referring people to their site. Well, rather than putting that as part of the main navigation, we put it up above and had a little button for referring physicians. So there's a number of different ways that we can organize our secondary information. And lastly, don't forget about the footer. It's great to go minimalist if you don't have a lot to put in there, but it's also a great place to kind of put a mini site map. If you have things that you're concerned, may not be obvious within your navigation without kind of clicking each element, you may have products and then you may list out the product categories underneath it. So again, lots of things you can do to help your user be able to navigate your site and find content. And that's really what this is all about. Footers are also a great place to repeat your phone number and address if you have a physical location. And it's also a great place to add in your links to social media. So that people have a way to connect with you beyond just your website. One thing that's, as designers that we value and we think is really important is making a lasting impression. You want visitors to remember your site. There are just a million websites out there today, and there are all these templates out there and all these, simple little builder tools. And the downside of that is that sites all start to look the same. So it's really, again, we're trying to draw our visitors in to make the next step, either to purchase a product or do business with our company. So there are many, many different ways. And this is something that a good web design firm can help you with, to use different elements. We try to do things like adding unique backgrounds. You'll notice on the screen on the right, on this particular site, this is our site, we have kind of these wavy lines that we use throughout. So we're not just using, the same old solid color backgrounds. We also, this site is actually a good example as well. We see these full bleed images everywhere now. That's kind of a pretty standard element. So we went ahead and did something a little bit different. We decided to have, our images bleeding off, in some cases the left side of the page, in other cases the right side of the page, so that again, we could create some visual interest. Motion is always a great element to add into the site, provided that it is used to engage your audience and not just an effect for the sake of having an effect. If it helps bring someone down the page, that's, a perfect use of motion. Another thing that is really important, again, with all the clip art and stock photography and stock illustrations that are out there, if you have the budget, consider having some custom illustration work done or custom photography done specifically for your site, especially if you have a physical location. The last thing you want to do on your site is have a generic looking office. Take the time to have somebody come in and photograph your office. This can, again, really make your site stand out and feel different than all the rest, and give people a true sense of what your company is all about. Lastly, and again, incredibly important, is prominent calls to action. You're not building a new website just to have a pretty website. Clearly, you want to attract new business or become a thought leader. So you want to have those calls to action so that your visitors are engaging with the site. The site should not be this static thing that someone reads. It is meant for people to engage with so that they can explore and they can take the next steps. So, and of course, that leads me to, once you have built the site, another important thing your web developer should be doing is making sure you're setting up all the metrics so that you can actually measure what you've done. I mean, that's the beauty of the web and digital engagement, is we have things like Google Analytics. We can look at all sorts of different metrics. How many visitors are coming to the site? How many visitors have purchased a product once they've come to the site? How much time are they spending on the page? Which pages are they spending very little time in completely leaving our site? What we call abandonment. If you have a shopping cart and you're having people put stuff in the shopping cart, but then they never check out, you can measure that. What are the most visited pages? So there's Google Analytics, which you can get just a ton of information. It's important to make sure you configure Google Analytics. And again, when you get to the point of actually building a site, not only do you want someone who can create and build a site for you, it's really valuable to partner with an SEO firm who can also help with all the analytics at the same time. The other sort of tool that is really valuable are heat map tools. And you'll notice on the image on the right-hand side of my screen again that you see these little heat maps. So it gives you a sense for where people are clicking or where their eyes are resting. Crazy Egg is one tool that is a really nice tool that lets you see how people are navigating your site. It's really wonderful too, because if you have a really long page, it can indicate for you that 50% of the people, made it what we call below the fold or beneath where, this first initial content you have, and you can kind of see the drop-off rate. So, gee, maybe I need to get more content up to the top because people just aren't taking the time to go all the way down to the bottom, or I need something that kind of shows what the next section is coming so they actually realize there's more content on that particular page. You should always be aiming to continually improve your site and build upon what you've created. I mean, again, the beauty of digital tools is we don't need to create something and then have to completely tear it apart to refine it. So these are all very important considerations. So again, what I've tried to present here to you is largely the things you need to consider before you go to a web design firm or an SEO firm or any sort of partner or your internal team, even if you're going to build a website yourself. It's about knowing who you are and knowing your audience. If you know those things and you can articulate that well, you are going to be so far ahead of the pack when you finish your site in terms of achieving your goals. So that's really the essence of what I wanted to cover today. We will make this presentation available to you. Angela will speak to that because I highly recommend that you use this as homework before your next site redesign. It's a process we use each and every time we build a site that we work through with our clients. And again, really the goal is to help focus your efforts so that you can build a site that your visitors are going to love.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Cathy. That is fantastic. I'm going to, can you send the screen over to me real quick?
Yeah, let me hit. Oh, okay. You're right. This thing takes a moment to do its thing sometimes.
Yeah, and has a little bit of latency to it. We've discovered we're all, we're all short patience these days. So, but anyway, so that is a fantastic. Cathy, thank you so much. You've done a great job of rolling through this because these are all questions that we get asked, and
I'm gonna let you take. I'm sorry, Angela. I'm gonna let you take back control because I'm having a mental moment today.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do it. Pardon us, y'all. We are back. Okay. Maybe you can see me now.
I can see you.
Okay, can you see my current slide? Questions?
Yeah.
Everyone, awesome. Okay, fantastic. That's where we want to be. Great. The technology is working. So any questions you have, please feel free to put them in the chat box or the question box. I'd love to see them. Don't be shy. And while we've actually had a private one come in, but while we're doing that, yes. So Scott had asked, will this presentation be available to be seen later? Yes, absolutely, 100%. If any of you want to revisit this incredible information, or you want to share it with your marketing team or your business partners or whomever, feel free to do that. We'd love that. Today is Wednesday, so by Friday we hope to have it up on our site, SEOrocket.com. We actually have a webinars page on our site, so it will be there, and you can revisit it at your leisure whenever you're ready, and also share it from there as well. We have a YouTube channel too, so it's on there. In fact, if you go to our YouTube channel and click the little bell icon, you can subscribe, and all of the webinars and videos that we post will be sent to you automatically. You don't have to go there to it, but it will be on our site, and we will post it in our social media when it's on there. So look for that if you want to share it or revisit this information, because kudos to you, Cathy, because this is fantastic information. I think you absolutely hit on everything that people need to think about, because it really is, building a site isn't simply vanity. It doesn't, or shouldn't be simply vanity or just a brochure. We all really want it to work for us and, bring us those sales and those leads. So there's always kind of, as we say, you have to slow down in order to speed up. So we always ask ourselves all these questions. And I would caution all of you, if you're ever, working with a developer or a marketing person who, doesn't ask you these questions and doesn't want to learn, it's really important to learn where you're going and what's most important to your business as you set those directions and those, mapping of, okay, great, this is where we want to go. Now, how do we get there? It's very important to ask these questions, even though it does slow the process down, but you're going to end up with a much better product as a result. Absolutely, 100%. So we did have, I'm looking over here, we did have a private question that was sent to me. I just want to be number one on Google. We get this a lot too. I'll take this one. So I just want to be number one on Google. So we all do, but I would suggest that, if that's your motive and that's what you want, that you should, like I just said, actually, just dig deeper. What's the next question of why do I want this search ranking? Why do I want to be number one? Presumably it's to be found. But let's dig deeper and think about this. Your site has like two main functions: visibility for your business, and then conversion, for the growth of your business. So, Google is a complicated search engine, and so these questions, these answers get complicated. But I would say on the visibility side, you have technical things like, you have your SEO there, and is your site secure and is it fast? Is it loading quickly? Is it mobile friendly? Does it respond well if someone's on a phone or a tablet or what have you, other than just a desktop, laptop? Those are things that are all important and go into your technical SEO bits and strategy planning. And then on the conversion side, there is also, your content. Cathy mentioned earlier about how, this is really an ongoing process. It needs to be a living, breathing site where you are constantly thinking about what your audience wants and needs. Their questions may have changed. The questions people have now are very different than the questions people had, 12, 15 months ago, right? I mean, so many things have changed. I know we keep saying that, but it's true. I mean, and that would have been true anyway if it weren't for, coronavirus. I mean, that would have happened anyway, just because we evolve and technology changes. So, keep that in mind, the depth and the breadth of your site. Those are things that are going to help you with that #1 ranking in Google. And then also to, the conversion factor. I do have to say, because I will get fussed out if I don't say it by my cohorts, but there is really no #1 in Google. Every user, their search patterns are different. So a #1 ranking in Google for me is going to be different from you, what you see as your #1. And, #1 is great, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are awesome too. I mean, getting on that first page should be mission 1. And then, of course, converting those and asking yourself, I could go on forever on this, but asking yourself, like, what is important to your business to be found, and why. So is it because something has a really long sales cycle or a really short sales cycle, or has a higher profit margin for you versus not, or has more competition for you versus not? Those are things you all need to consider when putting that SEO strategy in mind and building or adding on the breadth and depth of your site as you are. So to chase those visibility and those rankings. So that's a very long answer to that question, but it is what it is. It tends to have a long answer. Anything else? Is there anything that you'd like to touch on, Cathy, that you haven't had a chance to yet?
I don't think so. Again, hopefully, the idea was to give you food for thought, so that as you're planning, you're thinking through these things, because a website really is more than just throwing up some pages. And I think what's really important too, a lot of what we talked about in terms of identifying your visitors and identifying your customers and what they need, that's not only going to help you with your website, it's going to help you with any of your marketing efforts for your business. So it really applies across the board. So even if you don't have a website redesign in the works for this year, maybe some of this information will help you with email marketing efforts or some other promotional items or things you might be doing for your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're fantastic, insightful questions to ask yourself, and, in many ways ask yourself regularly. So I would suggest that to everyone too. I mean, back to the whole, it's a living, breathing, ongoing thing. It really is. I mean, we ourselves, just this week relaunched a revision to our site, a makeover to our site. And then, we also, we also have the webinars on all the time, and you have blogs, and you have new products or services that maybe you're rolling out, or new FAQs. So, there's always something new going in your business. And I would suggest everyone just think about how their customers are reacting to them and what kind of questions they have that are coming up. And always consider that fodder for consideration, for the site, for an ongoing evolution of the site. It's hard to do because I know some people it's very easy to let it lie. Just
Yeah.
one and done, build it and put it out there. It's very easy to do that. But if you don't, you're going to have an edge over your competition for sure.
One other point I want to make related to the Google #1 question, which again is a very popular one we all hear, is when you're initially building a site, you shouldn't expect that overnight, all of a sudden, your Google rankings are going to pop up. Really, the foundation is, the goal is to build a site that has a solid SEO foundation. So you have the fundamental building blocks and structure that Google wants to see and how it's going to traverse your site. So if you do that well, and most good web developers should know how to do that well, then that's where some of the measurement and seeing what visitors are engaging with will help drive what's the next piece of content I need to add, what else do I need to do. So your SEO results aren't going to come instantly. It's more, think of it as building that solid foundation that you can build on. You wouldn't want to build a house on quicksand. So you want to have the basic structure there so that it's very easy to refine and continue to enhance your content, to support your SEO efforts over time.
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it any better myself, Cathy. You nailed it. I mean, really did. And that's why it's always fantastic to have a collaboration with, with your web developer, with your SEO agency, with your marketing team, or, whether it be, or the owner of the business, whoever that may be that's leading those initiatives. That collaboration and communication is so key to doing that and having that ongoing process. Absolutely, 100%. So speaking of ongoing processes, by the way, if you do need some content guidance, last month our webinar was on content, so you can revisit that on SEOrocket.com. Yes, I realize that's a shameless plug, but we get a lot of content questions too, so I wanted to bring that up. Also too, next month we will be talking about reviews. So this is a very common question that we get, especially for businesses that have a local focus or a product focus. Reviews in Google are very important. It literally is your golden ticket, okay, in many, many ways. And it's one thing that we can, I'm not going to say influence, because you don't want to influence, but you do want to encourage feedback from your customers and for your own, processes, business processes, but also to, especially if you're doing a great job, you want the world to know that. So, our webinar next month, March 31st, will be with Zane. He's our local SEO specialist, and he's going to talk about what you need to know about customer reviews. So this is, how to, why they're so important and influential in both your rankings, once again, your visibility and your conversions, your sales, why it's so important in both of those arenas. And then also too, how to get those reviews. We always say it's a numbers game. Not everyone is going to give you a review, but how to get those and how to put that system and process in place to do that. And then also too, how do we respond to them? I mean, people are really fuddled over that. How do we respond to these? Because there are good, bad, and even fake reviews out there, right? What do we do when we get, one of each. How do we respond to that? So this hour in March will help you walk you through all of that and explain all those situations and how you can respond to each. So I think it's going to be well worth your 1 hour of time to find out what to do and what not to do to keep yourself in good graces with both Google and your customers. So please join us for that. You can register for that now on our website, and we'll be posting that in our social media as well to remind you of it on March 31st. It's coming. One more thing, because since we are doing so fantastic on time, that I did want to mention to everyone very briefly is we have, speaking of adding to your site on an ongoing basis, we have, and this will speak mostly to a local, if you're a business with a local focus, we have a Google My Business checklist that walks you through all the things that you can have in your Google My Business profile that you should and take advantage of if at all possible, because it's free and it's Google, and Google very much loves itself. And we all want those rankings in Google, as we've heard today. So we have a Google My Business checklist that we're adding to the resources on our site, as we ourselves add on to our site. And in fact, it is so new and it is so available to just the friends and family right now in our webinar circle that is not even on our site now, but it should be up this week. But if you're interested in that Google My Business checklist, I want to encourage you to just shoot me an email at Angela, ANGELA, at SEOrocket.com, and I will get that to you. That download will be up very soon, but we just don't have it out yet. But I wanted to give you all the sneak preview that it's coming and give you the opportunity to see it. So it's totally free and great information to have for those of you who are DIYing your Google My Business optimization. It's an awesome resource there for you. All right, I think that's it for today. So thank you so much for joining, Cathy. Thank you for being the warrior woman and powering through and
No worries.
And join us, even though you had a bad back today. Many gold stars going out to you, and my appreciation for sure. Thank you all for your time today. We love it when you join us. We love your questions, and we certainly appreciate that too. So I have, obviously an attitude of gratitude on that. Thank you so much. We will see you next month on March 31st for the reviews webinar. And for now, we are signing out. So Cathy and I are going to take our cameras down and sign out. Thanks, everyone, and bye-bye.